Good evening. Welcome to the Nipper High School Board meeting. I know you guys are excited to see your students get some awards and some recognition. But before we get to all that fun stuff real quick, we wanted to address some quick things that are some ailments basically for our school and some issues that we would like to tackle and address with the community and hopefully get your guys' involvement in. So that's why we're kind of addressing it tonight. So the school board and the superintendent have gone through all the information. We know we've been making lots of strides as a high school towards doing a lot of positive things, but there's still 4 items out there that we'd really like to address and try to resolve. And we know that we're going to need some community input here. So the things that we've been identifying is Nipper High School needs to improve its attendance. Nipper High School needs to improve its graduation rates. We need to improve our testing scores. And we need to decrease the amount of classified students that we currently have. Like I said, the superintendent and school board believe that these are the 4 items that are holding Nipper High School back from achieving its full potential. And these items are difficult fixes, but with the cooperation of not only the staff and the students, but with the parents and the community members, we think we got a real shot of going ahead and fixing these. The first one that we're trying to address, and we're going to start tonight, is the attendance and the chronic absenteeism at Nipper High School. Attendance is an obvious problem. If we don't have your students in seats, then how can they learn, right? So state policies on absence is no more than 14 unexcused days. So once you go past 14 unexcused days, you'll be considered non-credit status. So you won't get credit for the classes that you're there. That's a bad thing. State average of chronic absenteeism is 15%. Our school is currently 28%. That's almost twice the state average. That's not a good thing. Right now we have some credit restoration practices at Nipper High School. They currently involve detention, ISS, and Saturday school. The credit restoration involves arbitrary work. Time spent should be more conducive to learning. So we want to try to get some, if you do have to do this extra work, we want it to be more beneficial, right? Create an absence team. What we want to do is we want to try to develop an action team on absences to review current policies, right? The team should be made up of students, parents, teachers, a truancy officer, because we want to develop a reward program to improve attendance while creating a comprehensive restoration program that will not only curb absenteeism, but also make the time spent with us conducive to learning. We want input from parents and teachers to generate buy-in into the resolutions that we develop. And we want our truants obviously there to be a part of the process to make sure that, we're addressing the warning signs, we're obeying the laws, and we're following best practices. We have a Renaissance program here at Nipper High. We want to go ahead and use some of those resources to create better rewards. We want student input on what those rewards should be. And then with the whole restoration practices, we want to make sure that we're addressing what they missed. So if they missed Algebra 2 class a lot, we want to make sure that we're giving them Algebra 2 work, right? And so we need to develop a team that's going to help try to put this all in line and try to streamline the process a little bit. As a timeline, we think 1 week we'll send information out to the public, track some students and parents to the team. So we're doing that tonight, but we're also going to send flyers home. Hopefully by next week, we can get the first meeting of a team. We can establish an agenda, get a good timeline going, and divvy out all the tasks. We're hoping 4 weeks after that, we can gather all these great innovative ideas and processes found at other schools, try to develop an action plan that we can present to the board. Hopefully it only takes another week. We can present findings to the board, the superintendent with costs, figures, and insight on other schools. We do have the Renaissance program, like I said, but if we can get more innovative with getting corporate sponsors in here, we got a lot of big businesses around here. If we can get some goodwill from them to help generate this, that'd be nice. The absence problem out of the 4 is probably going to be the easiest one to tackle. And what's great about it is that it's going to be the best one to tackle first because it's going to probably alleviate the other 3 as well. So this is our big one that we want to tackle now. Excuse me. Next one is going to be the test scores. Test scores in Nipper High School, students proficient at both language arts and math for the state is 27%, which is low, but Park is relatively new, so we kind of understand that. Nipper High School is 14%, so we're less than half of the way. Nipper High School has always had low test scores, even back to the HESPA days. but our scores have always been improving from the previous year. And the same is true for Park. We actually already showed improvement in a lot of areas. We are at national levels in Algebra 1, and we're only 3% off the New Jersey average, so things are looking bright there. We're better than national average and at New Jersey levels for 11th grade English language arts. So we have bright spots. We're making improvements. We're just not all the way there, right? With continued improvement, we will meet these objectives, but we would like to get a boost. We'd like to make this happen sooner rather than later. We want to develop a motivated group of head teachers to realign our curriculum with assessments to make the experience as closely related to the park as possible. We want our professional learning communities to go out to other successful schools and study their processes and assessments. And I'm sure the concern is we're teaching to the test. And for the most part, I can't lie, we are teaching to the test because the test is assessing whether or not we're successful in learning the information, right? The park is a pretty well-rounded test. It's very intense. And if we were able to pass the park, we pretty much know the concept of the class anyway. So passing the park is a good thing. It does show that we are learning. We want to have an outreach of motivated parents and corporate leaders in our area, develop an action plan. The action plan would address the importance of attending and attempting state testing for funding purposes. Right now, a lot of our students fail because they're not even showing up for the test. It's a refusal. It's not an opting out. There's no opt-out portion for a park. You're just refusing to take the test. So we get dinged for that. We need communities and parents to be on board. Like if they see a kid out of school, when they know it's testing day, they say, hey, Johnny, shouldn't you be testing right now? Or, Billy, next week, Park, you're going to do a great job. We want everybody, a community effort on this one, to get together and be motivated for it. It sounds silly, but if we try to create an environment where it's the whole community on board, the united front, I think it would really mean something to the students. We want to develop a suite of professional developments for teachers that align the learning to test scenarios and provide and train parents to utilize online tools that will help them be a part of their students' learning. We're not asking you to run an additional class at home. You guys know that you work. There's a hard-working community. We understand that. But we're trying to say that, if we can give you a tool that you can check real quick and say, did my student do their homework? And you can check it yourself. Wouldn't that alleviate a lot of the problems? That way, once again, that whole united front concept, kids know that you're on board, teachers are on board, neighbors are on board. This is what we want, right? For our timeline here, we would like to develop a communication to the public and staff with information that we want to accomplish in seeking volunteers. Once again, kind of doing that tonight. I think we can run this simultaneously with the attendance agenda. I don't think it needs to be one after the other, but if we don't have enough motivated members to do both groups, obviously we want to tackle the attendance first. Give 3 weeks for a formation of teams with the best possible members to engage other school districts. So we're going to outreach to places like Rancocas Valley that use a really unique assessment tool. I think on their math problems they only have 6 questions. That's their test, and the 6 are standards based, and they, it's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0. Did you master it? Did you not know it? 3's passing. It's a unique idea, and we should go find these unique ideas out there and see if we can incorporate it in our own school. 4 weeks later, we'll reconvene, compile some of the data that we found. 4 weeks after that, we'll give a full report to the school board, superintendent, seeking approval of the findings, and hopefully 2 weeks after that, with approval, we'll start appropriate professional development. As we know, graduation rates, the whole reason why we go to high school is to graduate. Current graduation rate for the state of New Jersey is 90.5%, and we're currently at 83.67. Now, it sounds like it's a lot off, but with our usual class size, in order for us to be at average, we really only need to get 5 more students to graduate. We want to maintain, if not increase, our expectations. We want to keep having our diploma to be valuable, and we want more students to rise to our expectations. So there's schools out there with the same kind of demographics that we have. They have like 93% graduation rate. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then we look at the test scores, and they're actually underperforming worse than ours. So, you can kind of assume at that point that they're just lowering their expectations. We don't want that. We want to keep high expectations, if not even higher, and we want our students to rise to those expectations. We don't want to fill our community with less smart people, you know? Concerning subgroups, only our Asian population is meeting graduation expectations. The Hispanic group right now is our largest group, and it's also our biggest room for growth at 79%. There's plenty of well-founded reasons why this would be the case. We're not trying to make any kind of excuses here. We're not trying to point any fingers. We just want to resolve the problem with some innovative ideas. Graduation rates approach. The team will consist of teachers, guidance counselors, students, and parents. And they will be tasked with finding ways to have students to be successful in school. We want to find other schools that are successful, and we want to research what they do. We want to develop a graduation coach position that's in charge of at-risk and undercredited students. Kind of a new position out there. We've done a little timid research. We want a bigger research on that. We want to see how successful it is, right? We want to look into opening accredited trades that will be useful to students who have no interest in the college path. If you know that you don't want to go to college and it's your junior year, I shouldn't be scheduling you pre-calculus. You know, if you know that you want to be an auto mechanic, let's get an ASE mechanic in here teaching you how to do that. And that way we can actually start developing ties to the community. We can maybe get a feeder program right into that Nissan dealership that's in town. We also want to ensure that we are in compliance with any and all laws concerning credit restoration and the proper procedures when dealing with at-risk students. So this graduation coach position that we're going to go ahead and try to create, we want to make sure that they're on top of all the stuff that we're supposed to be doing with our accreditation program. So our graduation timeline, week 1, we're going to send out information to parents, staff, develop the same basic scenario, right? We're only going to do this after the attendance though. We want to lock in the attendance rate before we get started. But we're looking for parents and staff to develop a team with both achieving and underachieving students. We want the students who are not happy at high school involved in this process. What's going to make them happy? What can be the bright point of their day? What kind of programs are they going to want to see? We're going to assemble a team and meet with principals for direction. We're going to take another 4 weeks, have them report back from other schools' approaches, wish lists from students who are in danger of failing out, and descriptions and duties of a graduation coach and how successful they are. Hopefully in 2 weeks' time we can compile that data, and report back to the board and superintendent. The last one is reducing the number of classifications. Just real quick, our current classification is 21.2% of our population, where the state average is 16.7%. There are some schools out there who do better on our test. Notoriously good schools like a Haddonfield or a Haddon Township, and they do have higher classification rates than we do. There are schools out there that are underperforming, that have lower, so it is an indication of how successful you are. The reason why we want to reduce the number of classifications, it takes a lot of time and resources away from both the schools and the parents. We have to do tons of testing. You have to go out to multiple doctor appointments. It's a waste of your time and resources. It's not a waste. You're doing what's best for your kid. But if we can try to lower this with common sense, it would be better for you and us together. Classifying students can create a harmful environment sometimes for self-esteem and rigorous expectations. There have been numerous studies about kids having self-esteem issues for being labeled special ed, by their peers. And hopefully that's not going on in our school environment. If it is, please tell me. But we want to make sure that we are helping the students that need the help and trying to give them as much rigorous expectations as possible. Classifying students brings a large legal component that we want to try to avoid with common sense approaches and proper teaching methods. We would want to create a committee consisting of students with IEPs and 504s as advocates for their own needs. We want guidance counselors and teachers, child study team members and parents, and hopefully a community doctor familiar with classifying students if we can find one. We want to try to devise ways to address some of the biggest accommodations as a part of our standard operating procedure. If for some reason test corrections are necessary, and that's our biggest accommodation, let's say, it's test corrections. Well, let's just make that a part of our standard operating procedure. So therefore, give it to everyone. Like, it shouldn't have to be something that's special and unique if so many people need it. Like, can we take care of this with just common sense approaches? That's what we're going to try to look into. Differentiating instruction should be a part of most of this, right? So if Tommy has ADHD and he can't sit still for 20 minutes straight, why aren't we using some more station work habits around the classrooms? It would just make sense. We want to try to devise ways to, we want to have students be advocates of their own learning and teachers be understanding and acceptable of students' input in order to lessen the dependency on IEPs and create a better relationship between the student and teacher. If the teacher is more receptive to what the student needs and are able to go ahead and say that, and wouldn't that just be a better relationship anyway? And then we're also addressing the student's needs for learning. We want a larger presence from our INRS team. We want our INRS team to be a part of most of the processes before it gets to IEP. So that way we can go ahead and create these accommodations class to class, because what you need for math class may not be the same thing that you need for history class. Reduced classification rate timeline. 2 weeks to get the information out to the public and gather team members. I'm sure many parents are going to want to be part of that, so the motivation will be there. 4 weeks to review current accommodation situation to see if there are any high flyer accommodations that we can incorporate into our standard operating procedure. We want to share the findings with our INRS team, our school board, and our superintendent. Progress will be made by not creating as many new IEPs with the INRS team, and progress on this will be slow. It requires a lot of trust from the parents and students. I'm a father of 2 students who have IEPs. I know why I got the students not their IEPs. It's probably along the same lines as you did, and I understand that you don't want to give those up. And we're not asking you to give those up. We know it's a legal binding document. We can't take it away from you. We don't want you to take it away from you. We want you to trust us. But I think how we're going to reduce this is by creating less IEPs from here on, with more incorporation with the INRS team. So don't feel like we're out to get your IEP. We're not. We're just hoping that we can start using some more common sense approaches with our teachers and our procedures to lessen the dependency on them. Order is going to matter on how we tackle these 4 items. Which one we should address first is the attendance one. Attendance needs to be the easiest and garner the most amount of rewards. It's going to help us with the other 2, and it's going to be a nice win for the community. School test scores seems pretty common sense based on, and should be ran in parallel with the attendance initiative. If we got enough people on board that want to volunteer for this, we can run it parallel. If we need to wait, that's fine too. Graduation rates require some outside input and the development of a new position, possibly more if we're getting any trades involved. So it's going to be a little bit more intensive. We're probably going to do that 1/3. And we're going to leave the classification rates last because it requires the most trust from you guys, the parents. It would be easiest to address with the other 3 items already completed. That's the presentation for tonight. Now let's get to the good stuff, recognizing our students' awards.